Welcome to the Runway, where we cover current events in crypto, Web3, technology, politics, current events, and more. Welcome to the pod, guys. I got GK here with me, I got Scotty here with me, and I got my buddy Maximilian here today.
The boys.
Yo. All right. What do you got for us first here, Paul? So I saw Elon yesterday posted that he wants to fund a podcast called 69 Minutes. So I was thinking, why don't guys, what do you guys think? We should rebrand this pod to from the Runway to 69 Minutes. And then we just go for 69 minutes every week. That's what I was thinking. And try to do as many takes as possible in 69 minutes.
I love that idea.
I think it's a great idea. So let's talk about that this week. So here's a take from Chamath here. I think we talked about it on Wednesday a little bit, and maybe I'm not sure if we found the chart or not, but here, this chart really just shows, Chamath says, this is a disgusting chart. There are so many markets that look like this: spend more, get less. But our kids' education isn't a market, it's their salvation. We need to fix this and embrace competition. Parents need reasonable alternatives to push back on the fact that our kids aren't being educated. So this is a fascinating chart. It shows that the spending for education is gone through the roof. Inflation's gone through the roof, and then we've seen worse outcomes. So since the federal government started the Department of Education and took over federalizing that and taking it away from the states, we've actually had worse outcomes across the board. Where, kids are getting less intelligent. Their reading scores are going down. Their math scores are going down despite the massive increase on the taxpayer. So this system clearly isn't working. I saw a video the other day of this lady at the education thing screaming and yelling and doing all this crazy stuff about we're going to fight back or something like that. It's like, but look at your record. It's absolutely atrocious. You're just burning money and having worse outcomes. So really, I mean, the Department of Education should absolutely be disbanded. Does anybody have an argument against that, or are you guys all in agreement here? What are your thoughts?
No, completely in agreement. I mean, we didn't have it until like the 70s or so.
Yeah.
Until like in the 50s and 60s, I think we were rated one of the best when it came to all the school kids' scores during that time period. And we got this department, and everything's just been getting worse. Thankfully, with COVID, a lot of people switched to homeschooling. So I know it's more challenging, but no one cares more about their children's education than the parents.
It's been a common topic of discussion with me and a lot of my friends, and I know I have many friends who do homeschooling. The one thing that I don't like about it is the kids. The socialization element is obviously not as good as being in a public education or even any private school. Being around other kids constantly 24/7, you can mitigate some of it, but there's some element of learning social skills. I think that's the big thing for me. That's always held me back.
Well, I've heard people say it's even better because when some of the kids go to work with the parents, like if they have a small business or something, they're interacting with other adults of people of all ranges, where in school, it's everyone of the same age. So they don't know how to deal with different people, like different age ranges. Whereas when they actually get to experience, or if they worked in a coffee shop or something, they're dealing with the entire spectrum. So they're actually better socialized, because when we're moving throughout the workforce, you don't deal with everyone your age. It's a smattering across every age demographic.
Maybe it's just a confirmation bias, but a lot of the kids that I've met that have been homeschooled, I can clearly tell that they're lacking in social skills. It's been very apparent to me, at least, with many that I've come across. But maybe there's a bunch of good ones that I haven't come across. But
they can say all the farm animals in 6 different languages.
That is true.
But they're just not socialized. You could definitely tell.
With interpersonal relationships, and that's important, right? Because we need more procreation. We need good relationships. We need men who know how to talk to women, and women who know how to beat women and talk to men. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy to have to say that these days, but
I think it just speaks to a greater mismanagement of expense. Mismanagement in the federal government. I mean, we're taking in $5 trillion in tax receipts on the revenue side, and we're running $6.8 trillion of expenses. There's clearly a deficit there that needs to be reduced, and overspending in the education needs to be at least allocated correctly. And if it's mismanaged, just like every other expense, it's almost as if they need to go line item by line item within the budget and say
that's what's happening now. I mean, we're seeing a lot of that with Doge, and it's fantastic to see. A lot of the system is pushing back and fighting back, but I mean, we're seeing some amazing things happen right now. And even if we return to our pre-COVID levels of spend, I mean, that's trillions of dollars off of the annual budget. So I think that would be the first step, right? And then we're finding so much stuff we can cut, so much grift, so much fraud. And with the education system, why not put it back to the states? Let's let federalism play out. Let's see which states do a good job.
Well, I think one of the maybe biggest benefits that we could get that would be easy is stop having everyone of the same age be in the same classroom. So like maybe you have a class that's got 12 to 15-year-olds, have it across a couple of years. That way you can work on the socialization.
Yeah.
And also the older kids can teach the younger kids, which helps reinforce what the older kids know. And so it's just our current system just seems to be the worst way.
Well, it's kind of just like, even if they're totally uneducated, they don't know how to do math. Let's just push them to the next grade level.
Yeah.
And then it just exacerbates the problem that, you didn't actually, we see this. We pulled up the video the other day. I think it was it Chris Sullivan we had on a pod I think it was a Cypherpunk'd pod we recorded, and we were talking about this, and he just thought he was like getting mad at me. I'm like, dude, this is what we're dealing with. Like he thought these people were evil. I'm like, dude, like pull it up. And Paul pulled it up, and it was like just an hour-long video of just like going to college kids and be like, hey, what's 2 times 7? And like they just can't answer. What's 8 plus 15? Can't answer.
I just saw a video.
What's the capital of the state we're in? Can't answer.
I just saw a video. I think it was on X, and it was this 27-year-old corporate girl. And she's like, I can't even read. I'm listening to podcasts trying to pronounce words, and I don't know how to read. And I'm like, these people went through the public education system, and they can't read. What is going on?
Well, it's funny you brought up COVID too, Kyle, because it's like that kind of exposed a lot of different things in our own society. A lot of it was like school fell apart when you couldn't go to the classroom anymore and you had to put people online. Like education went way down. People just got passed through just because they couldn't hold back entire classes of people. So our standards seem to have dropped a lot for education specifically, especially in the public space.
Yeah, but it's been a problem that's been growing because she was 27. The video I saw, she was 27. So that had to start over a decade ago.
Yeah. I mean, my experience, I going to public and private schools. I mean, the private school was a way better education. I had a lot more fun at the public school, but it was essentially a government daycare. I mean, I didn't really learn much. That's just a fact of reality, Max, right?
You learned how to squat and deadlift.
We learned how to play football. That was one thing. That was fantastic. We did learn that. But we did not learn, I was learning shit that I had learned 4 years ago when I was in 7th grade and like my junior year of high school.
I probably learned more from football than I did from actual school. I'm just like,
no, straight up.
And like Kyle said, being exposed to other people, like I was in advanced classes where you don't see all sorts of, people who only care about school are in those classes. You don't even interact with half the school who doesn't give 2 shits about being there. So it's kind of funny.
And a lot of people are challenging the whole like 9-hour-a-day school system now. Like it feels archaic to have to go to school for 8-9 hours a day. Like especially you introduce technology, you can get that done in 2 to 3 hours and then go play for the rest of the day.
I was terrible. I mean, I was terrible in school. I was always like, acting up, and Max is laughing because he remembers. I mean, it was like,
well, that's because you have ADD, right?
ADHD. My kid's dealing with it now. I mean, like they want to have a parent-teacher conference. It's like he's gotten 7 infractions in the past 3 months or whatever. Because he's, he doesn't want to sit in the damn desk and chair for 18 hours.
It's archaic.
Like,
also, like,
I have to sit there and tell him, like, son, you got to sit there and just you got to do what you got to do. You can't distract class. You got to take it, dude.
No, I think that's just wrong though. Because
I feel that they don't want to sit. I hated it.
They don't want to sit in a desk. They want to run. They want to move. And like maybe at the end of that, try and find a way to have them like physically engaged in the lesson. But
I mean,
sitting at the front of the whiteboard,
because sometimes you got to do shit that you don't want to do. So there's an element of that of like, hey, listen, I know you don't want to do this, but sometimes you're going to go through things in life. Like I do shit all the time that I don't want to do. And you just got to, part of that is learning that's a skill, like,
but you can learn that discipline in sports too.
Yeah. We did in many ways. All right, guys, let's move on to the next topic. What do you got for us? Let's scroll on up here and see what we got. Oh, this is a classic one. So, this guy, Bill Crystal, I don't know who this person is, but he goes, the deep state is far preferable to the Trump state. And this guy, Data Republican, and I love this guy. He's so great. He goes, hello, Mr. Crystal. For you, the deep state is preferable because you are listed as the president of Defending Democracy, EIN 831567380, which is an indirect beneficiary of USAID through Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. You are exposed. I mean, she's. I think it's a she. Yeah, I guess she's great. I mean, Data Republican, small r. Yeah, she's just digging through all the data, and now she's got access to. They're getting access. They're actually being transparent, so they can see that your taxpayer dollars are going to these NGOs, which are funding other NGOs, and of course, the people complaining are all the people that are in on the massive grift that's occurring.
Oh yeah, well somebody said it's basically like imagine they're drug addicts and you've taken their drugs from them, and it explains it because they're going hysterical, about not getting their money anymore, and now they're just losing their minds and trying to do everything they can to get people to stop looking at it. Yeah,
I couldn't believe the one with Chelsea Clinton getting $84 million a year or something like that through one of these NGOs. Like, I mean, this has got to be like, I mean, I can't believe. I mean, how are they getting away with this shit? I mean, it's unbelievable.
I think what's interesting about this, and I might be wrong, but I think this guy Crystal is a far right, so he's Republican, and he was being funded by USAID.
Yeah.
And so it kind of shows that it's on both.
It's on both sides.
It's
Absolutely.
not just a Democrat.
It's what they call the deep state.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not it's not partisan. Both sides are on it. It's either you're part of the deep state group or you're not.
And everyone on social media who's outspoken typically has an
Of course, they've got
background
vested interest.
agenda that they're pushing. So like, it's funny
Anyone
that
who's
people-
crying about fraud usually is committing the fraud.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they expose themselves, but this is like their job is just to go online and like rabble rouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it just feels like in after the new Trump's America, people just aren't buying it anymore, and we don't care because it's like we can see you spending $600 million on sushi at the Pentagon. No, bring a box lunch.
Yeah.
You can do that.
I think so. I think so. What do you got next? Oh, go down a little bit. Let's see. USAID is only 0.7%. Go down to the take right above. Yeah. Ron Rule. You can just leave it right there, Paul. USAID is only 0.7% of the federal budget. If they found this much fraud and waste in this one tiny piece already, imagine how bad the rest of it is. Yeah. I mean, I think that hits the nail on the head.
Yeah, I think I saw one that was talking about how for like the Politico websites, USAID was giving a bunch, but then they found that like the FDA was also giving Politico money for some reason.
Yeah,
So,
crazy.
and they haven't even like touched that department.
Yeah, crazy. David Bailey from Bitcoin Magazine. Here he says, market completely misreading today's press conference. Paul, you don't need to open up the secondary window. You can just leave it on the main feed, and I can do it that way. I think it'll be easier. Market completely misreading today's press conference. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve is happening. It's a top priority. Direct from DJT. They're assembling the top officials in the country to formulate a plan in next 80 days. Half the working group is Bitcoiners. SBR is happening. So many of you might remember my options bet. Probably not going to play out. It was a long shot. I'm not going to go cry to the Consumer Protection Bureau because I made a gamble and I'm going to lose my bet. But I think it is going to happen at some point. Maybe just not in the timeline that.
When does your window close?
I think I have till February 21st for my option to expire.
What was the bet on? I don't know.
I basically took a call option on MicroStrategy. I think it was like 550. So it was something like that, like a higher price, right? Because if they did the SBR and you think MicroStrategy is the best kind of, they would be the beneficiary of that because they own tons of Bitcoin. So the government is buying Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is a proxy kind of for that bet. So that was the bet, right?
Okay.
And I knew going into it that, of course, it's a long shot bet. I was gambling on the bet. It was a gamble, right? So it's like, that's part of how markets should work, right? Like nobody should come save you if you make a bad bet. That's just how life works, right? So probably not going to get hit, but hey, you never know. Something crazy could happen. I've seen crazier things, right?
But what does sovereign wealth, what does Bitcoin Reserve actually mean? Will they be purchasing?
That's a good
Bitcoin
question.
or
Will they be purchasing? Will they announce that they're going to put some on the balance sheet? They've got the sovereign wealth fund idea now, stuff floating around. So I don't know, right? Well, there's a bunch of different ways, but I think if it is announced, regardless of what version it is, it's incredibly bullish. You're signaling to the world that the preeminent superpower is going to be putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet in some form or fashion. So, that's a game theory situation that will play out, right? If the United States does it, you better believe a bunch of other countries are going to do it. Let's go to the next take. Here we go. What is this? Tom, this is my favorite one that they found from USAID. This is unfathomable, right? So the obligations, it looks like this was like a $9.1 million arrangement, outlays of $268,000. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but I think the essence of it is much more interesting. It's active social engineering of defense, large scale social deception. I mean, that is literally what they're paying a news agency to basically gaslight and manipulate the public. I think it had to do with vaccine hesitancy or something like that. Like they wanted them basically to gaslight everybody. And they're using our tax dollars to essentially socially engineer and lie to us. I literally, they even have it in the description. That's insanely wild.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I saw another video. It was I think it was a Democrat congressman, not a senator or House rep, I don't remember. And he's like, they're going after the USAID, which is going to impact the freedom fighters that we're funding around the world. And it's like, that's illegal. Thank you for admitting it
Yeah.
straight up.
That's not the role
wrong.
of what our tax dollars should be doing. I saw something. I think it's in here somewhere. I don't know if Paul will find it when we go through the list of takes I flagged, but it was like a picture of like a bunch of terrorists with like with like a bunch of rifles, and on the background they were in a tent and it said USAID on the tent. Like, yeah, I mean, it's actively happening that our tax dollars are funding Hamas and funding Taliban and all these different things because there's no discrimination. I mean, they are literally. I think Elon got in a huge fight with one of the guys who's been there forever. I mean, they were just told, they basically just approve every transaction no matter what. And Elon's like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is insane.
Yeah, it's like approved even to known terrorists.
Yeah, to known terrorists. They still approve it. I mean, that blows my mind.
Did you guys
There it is right there. Here's the image. This is my favorite one. No, hold on. It was a response to one of the news agencies. They're like, it's stabilizing our world or something like that. How dare you attack USAID? And then here you go. I mean, you can't make this up.
No, this is just getting to
get it up there for the viewers.
Truth is stranger than
they got to see this. This is my favorite one. Yeah, look at this. One of my favorites. This is somebody's response to their tweet. Like,
yeah, we gotta read the comments on some of these.
Yeah, that was a comment. I flagged it. It was a comment. So find the actual one he's commenting to. Oh, well, here it is. Is this clown Senator Chris Coons? USAID saves lives, makes peace, protects our planet, stabilizes our world. If Doge wins, if Elon Musk wins, the cartels will win, terrorists will win, Russia will win, China will win. Yeah, I mean, this guy, this is the epic troll. It just kind of stabilizes our world. It shows some terrorists with in a USAID tent getting the beneficiary of all of our money. I mean, you just can't make this shit up.
Did you guys see Mike Benz on Donald Trump Jr.'s podcast?
No, I haven't. Is it new?
He's going like scorched earth.
Oh, I love that guy, man. He's so good.
He's
so
basically
good.
saying that the CIA was using USAID to go around all of the presidents, of course, back 20 years.
Oh,
to then start
no surprise.
Coups,
no surprise. No surprise.
I at this point, I want to have some criminal investigations get open up for this stuff because it's clearly subverting our laws and all that type of stuff. And
well, this is the logic. This is the logic of these intelligence agencies, right? The ends justify the means, right? We the law doesn't apply to us. Rules for thee, not for me.
Oh, I understand.
That's how these things operate.
That's what they think, and they need to be proven they're wrong.
Well, they haven't been proven wrong for decades. I mean, that's literally they get away with all this stuff, and you just support it and keep paying taxes on it. I mean, it's outrageous.
I know, but
outrageous.
Right now we've got a crack in the armor or something, and we just got to exploit it and just expose everything.
Interesting. All right, Paul, let's get our next take up here.
Yeah, it's funny.
Let's see what we got.
The financial abuse is just unreal.
You can't. It's not.
It's hard to quantify too because we're in $37 trillion worth of debt, and this is 50 billion USAID. It's really a drop in the bucket, but that's still such a shitload of money that you just can't wrap your head around because it's so big and the debt is so big, and it's just like.
So what else has our money been going toward?
Oh, if you're on X, you'll find out because it just nonstop every day, just dropping like just nuggets of the total fraud that's occurring. Real quick, I'm going to give a shout out. Next week, we are doing a series with one of my favorite authors. His name is Dominic Frisby, and it will be on our Cypherpunk'd podcast. And it's about this very similar concept of daylight robbery, right? And it's the history of taxation, the history of taxes, some fascinating chapters. Dominic Frisby is an excellent storyteller, and every chapter is extremely interesting. You're going to learn things that they don't teach you at the public education system, and obviously you get a whitewashed version of history that's taught to you by your nation state. But this gives you a much clearer picture of the truth and reality of a lot of different situations that you may have learned about in school that they didn't tell you everything, right? So Dominic does an excellent job unpacking all that and tells us about taxes in different civilizations throughout history. So fascinating. And then I'll also be doing a series with Larry Lepard very soon on his new book, The Big Print. So can't wait to unpack that. I haven't read it yet, but I've only just started the very beginning of the manuscript he sent me. But now he's released the book, so that'll be coming soon as well. So that'll be on the Cypherpunk'd podcast.
That guy's a legend.
He is. Yes, he is. And so is Dominic. If you haven't checked out any of his stuff, highly recommend it. He's kind of under the radar, but one of my favorites. What do you got, Paul?
I just wanted to pull up this Mike Benz tweet that he put out today, just with regards to what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
So here, apparently, one of the Doge new staff, one of the young kids.
You're talking about Big Balls?
Mr. Big
Man,
Balls
Big Balls.
himself. He was doxxed by this journalist, and it
Yeah.
It just so happens this journalist was working for 3 of the
Of course, you know.
blobcraft agencies, essentially run by USAID.
I mean, when you take a drug addict off of the drugs, I mean, of course they're going to lash out. I mean, they don't want to be cut off the drugs, you know. But it's insane that we are funding with our tax dollars essentially government propaganda media. I mean, that is literally antithetical to everything the Constitution stands for. Anybody who's been involved with this should be absolutely ashamed of themselves, because you're a disgrace to America. You really are. I mean, this is disgusting.
We're
Absolutely
quite literally funding an organization that goes against our own values that we're supposed to grow up with as Americans, and our governments are literally paying people to try and undermine that. The main thing that made all of the money for them to be able to get paid, they're trying to pull the bricks out from the tower.
Speaking of which, right there, I see this post by Brendan Carr, who's the new head of the FCC. So it looks like CBS provided the FCC with, scroll down just a little bit. Right there, yeah, Brendan Carr. It's right underneath the chart. So CBS provided the FCC with unredacted video and a transcript of VP. Nope, not this one, bud. Not this one. The one right underneath it. There you go. Yeah. You don't even need to open it. You can just leave it right there. I'm just going to read it.
Oh, it says there's more to it.
CBS provided you could press show more, I guess. Yeah, is that what you mean? Like you want to see the show more on it? Can you do it right from there without opening the page, or do you have to open the page?
Nah, yes, open the page.
Okay, all right. I guess we got to open it up then. CBS provided the FCC with unredacted video and a transcript of VP Harris's 60 Minutes interview in response to the FCC's review of a news distortion complaint. CBS did not ask for confidential or non-public treatment of these materials. Given the value of transparency and the public interest here, the FCC is taking 2 actions. The FCC is making these materials publicly available. The FCC has concluded that establishing a docket and seeking comment on the issues raised in the complaint would serve the public interest. The people will have a chance to weigh in. So thank you, Brendan Carr. He's been fantastic. I think he's been at the FCC for a while now, and he was calling out a lot of the broadband stuff, I think, with Elon, where they could have easily, for way less money, connected all these rural people to Starlink. And instead, they had a political agenda. So they decided to spend like 10 times as much to connect absolutely 0 people to the internet and waste 5 to 10 times as much billions of dollars instead of just, setting them up with Starlink. And he called this out and said, what is this? This is an insane grift.
And if it was like 10 years ago, 10 years ago, when he was the darling of everyone,
of course,
he easily would have gotten that contract.
It's crazy.
Like, this company's helping everyone, but no, because they bought Twitter.
Yeah, it's the problem. We're not operating off of merit anymore, and we've got people who don't have any economic incentive to deliver any real value, and they can just sit there and waste taxpayer dollars and use basically be political and instead of actually solving and completing their mission. And they should be ashamed of themselves. They really should, because
it's even worse. They're incentivized to try and be fraudulent.
As far as the Kamala thing goes, I mean, it could be viewed as election interference, just given that.
So back to that, Paul. Let's go back to this comment we're still talking about here real quick, because it is important, and I did want to touch on that. This idea. I mean, if you watch the unredacted, I've seen clips of the unredacted. It is clear, like, that is CBS is getting these public broadcaster. They get some funds from the government, and that's why they get this airtime. But what they did was blatant election interference and fraud. I mean, it's fraudulent. I mean, like, you see this guy who's interviewing Kamala Harris, and he asked her a question when they know they're live, and then she gives this bullshit, total, crazy answer, and then when the cameras are off and they go to the part that's not it, he's like, so what's the real answer? How really are you going to pay for it? It's like, well, he was
insinuating that Israel and Netanyahu were not listening to Biden at all. Like, Biden was telling them to do things, and they just were completely looking the other way. Yeah. And she gave some word salad answer that didn't make any sense, and then they cut out
her bullshit. I mean, these people are so fraudulent. These people are so fraudulent. I mean, they should be fucking ashamed of themselves. You call yourself a news reporter? Shame on you. Whoever that clown is on that station.
No, they're not. They're not news reporters. Yeah. Look at the USAID payout.
Yeah, they're getting the payout. I mean, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. I'm disgusted. It's disgusting.
That's what I said. Like, there needs to be some probably criminal prosecutions. Yeah. They need to be tried, and
Well, the media too. Media should be held accountable. That's what they are. Politicians, because they're just as guilty, if anything. Hey, Maddie, I got to run.
Okay, we're gonna do the Biden Harris hot swap here. We're gonna go get Phil on the pod. Maximilian, thanks for joining us today, and we're not gonna get the vote on this one. We're just gonna plug in our next Manchurian candidate. So it's been a pleasure, brother.
See you, man.
I'll see you in a couple hours.
Scott,
let's get Kamala Harris.
I know today we had a late start because we were on our X space with Dominic Frisby, But Scott, I just wanted to give you the chance to exit if you also have to. I know you have an appointment. Yeah. So everybody, thanks Scott for his brief.
Thanks, Scotty boy. All right, bud.
We will see him back next week.
All right.
I might have to borrow this book from you.
Yeah, that's a fantastic. I actually got a couple copies because we're gonna do I'm gonna have Dominic sign a bunch. We might do a book signing at Barnes & Noble, and we're gonna try to set that up, and we're gonna do a meetup where we give a couple copies away. So you can definitely borrow one of them.
I'll take a non-signed one.
Yeah. Well, no, we'll have him sign them all. He's gonna be here.
Okay.
All right. Let's go to our next take today. All right. What do you got for us? Anyone who ever advocated that more taxes would create more equality or value are being proven categorically wrong. All more taxes did was empower the bureaucratic class with resources to steal, grift, and create shadow organizations to do the things the U.S. government wasn't supposed to be doing in the first place. The receipts in just the first 14 days already proved this out. Can you imagine what we learn over the next 14 months? I think Chamath hits the nail on the head here. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Like literally hits the nail on the head. I don't even know if there's something to even be discussed or said about this.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one, Paul. Cue us up here.
I'm gonna have to take up some de-stressing exercise or something, because what we're gonna learn over the next 14 months is gonna make my blood boil.
My blood's already boiling. I mean, just reading some of the stuff on X is crazy. You know, X is the new media now. I mean, like all of anything that happens immediately and gets posted there for the world to see. I love the free speech. I love the transparency. I mean, it's fantastic.
Right, but the USAID, like in the previous post, said it's 0.1% of the spending.
0.7%.
100 billion in the first 1% of fraud.
These are my favorites. So there's a great post by Kanakoa the Great. So this one's funny over there. Personally, no one elected Big Balls because he's one.
Big Balls.
So Big Balls is one of he's a member of Doge that Elon, one of Elon's guys, probably a young kid / engineer who's a genius at doing different things that he does, right. And like I guess he got doxxed by this politician, or I'm sorry, by this reporter who was getting all this money from USAID and all these different blob organizations of propaganda media. She doxed him, I guess, apparently. So now he's hiding for his life. I don't know what the story is. I don't know why he got fired or what the deal is, but it's just funny that his name was Bitballs. Yeah, here you go. This is my favorite CNN clip. Can you actually play the CNN clip? It's so great. This is so great.
Legend.
These people think they're just so. I mean, they blow my mind. So this is like he's an 18, 19-year-old kid, essentially.
Let me reroute the audio through our podcast.
Yeah, I think it's like when he was 17, he made this.
He did something when he was a kid, and
an account name, Big Balls, and now they're just trying to find anything to pretty much cry about. But it's backfired.
I saw another video of I think it was Maxine Waters that was trying to get into the
Department of Education.
Oh, was the department? I thought it was the USAID building, but they're trying to browbeat a security guard that's like keeping them out.
I don't think it was Maxine. It was somebody else. I think.
Maxine Waters.
Yeah, it was Maxine.
Was Maxine?
Yeah, I was pretty sure it was Maxine.
Maybe a couple of them did it. They all.
I'm sure they took turns.
Yeah.
So this is a 19-year-old high school graduate who has used the unfortunate nickname Big Balls, Big Balls, Big Balls, Big Balls online. So that would be one way that we can refer to him. He is now working at Musk's behest inside Doge. And we looked into his background. So we found several one of which is that this individual has founded multiple companies, including one with another unfortunate name, LLC, which he established in 2021. He would have been around 16 years old. Now, this LLC controls dozens of web domains. So, Hera, hear this, and you have known Elon Musk for years. But now you look at these young men who are now in data and the private information about maybe hundreds of millions of American citizens as young as 19, the big ball here.
I mean, CNN something else.
Hey, I'm noticing. Are you catching that song?
Yeah, they put a song.
Yeah, they put a song.
I was pretty sure
it's actually playing.
Song.
It's playing a song called Big Balls. their over the media report. Yeah, there was like a 12 to 15-second clip that was better, but it's okay. Don't even.
Yeah, it was nice clip with
Let's move along without.
I want to point out. I want to point out one thing there. They're trying to.
We're the big balls. Carlos Cow.
Right there on the screen.
God damn it, Cal.
No, I think they're trying to. They're doing a framing thing where like, oh, he started multiple companies and he has all these web domains.
17 years old.
You could do that for like $400.
Yeah,
it's super easy to start a company and owning a web domain. Go to like GoDaddy or something like that, and it'll cost you $20 or something.
Yeah.
Do I buy 4?
The framing is ridiculous. I mean, that's what they love to do.
They're trying to make them like
looking to make him look bad, and they did the complete opposite.
Yeah,
so now that he's a legend online.
And now he's an online legend. Yeah,
yeah, I know that guy's got to be riding that wave for a while.
No one would like to go down here. This is a great post by Kaneko the Great. Let's pull this one up because I think this is an important way to think about things.
Yeah, I've seen this posted a couple different places.
Elon Musk and Doge. Can you go to the tweet, Paul? I can't see it. Yeah, you got it cut off at the top here. Elon Musk and Doge are pushing back against wasteful government spending, the leading cause of inflation. Inflation hurts the poorest Americans the most. Less government spending equals less inflation. Those who depend on government spending to maintain control are furious. So I think this is a great image to look at. Can you pull up the image itself? So a lot of people, this communist class warfare thing where it's like the rich versus the non-rich, the rich versus the poor. I mean, that's like the wrong way to think about these things, right? So there are people that are non-rich and there are people that are rich that, are mostly good people. I really like the one on the right. You can kind of see like the majority of people are good, right? I really truly believe that. And on the left side, it's just a different dichotomy of the situation. So it shows that people who allow other people to live in peace, kind of like, whether you're rich or poor, you kind of leave people alone. And then on the right side, it shows the right enemy, which is people who use the government to control you, right? So there's the non-rich who do that, but also the rich who do that, right? So I think we're really, really seeing that. It's just a different way to think about a problem. Let's go to the next take.
I'm trying to change the narrative.
Yeah, change the narrative a
Make
little bit.
I just somebody else.
Yeah. Would you like Doge out of the IRS? Yeah, 50. Of course, the majority of people put yes or fuck yes. So it's like 90+% of people want that. So of course they do. I mean, anything else is an absolute lie. Of course, the majority of people want to know what the government funds are being spent on. Of course, the people want all these agencies to be audited.
Yeah,
people want transparency.
We want accountability.
Everyone's lost trust, so we just need to do a full audit of everything on the federal level, which will be hard because of the size and scope of it. But it needs to be done. It's not an unsolvable problem. It just needs to happen.
True that.
I don't trust them at all at this point.
Yeah, just already what we've discovered. It's imagine the rest.
Let's do this one with the Winklevoss twins. So Warren Buffett clocked in 25% returns last year, barely beating the market. How can it be some members of Congress have returns greater than 100%, more than 4 times Buffett? This doesn't add up. It stinks to high heaven. Members of Congress shouldn't be allowed to trade. So this is an interesting post just to look at it. Weighted percent changes of Congress portfolios in 2024. And I do find it very interesting. I mean, you really see a lot of these people have inside information. It's like essentially insider trading. So we talked about this on Wednesday's pod with Craig Shapiro and James and a couple other guests and Danny. And we came to the conclusion that, maybe if you serve your country, if you go right now, there's a lot of these there's like a lot of these people don't have even term limits, right? In Congress doesn't even have term limits. I think only the Senate does and the presidency.
I don't even think the Senate does.
The Senate does it. It doesn't.
It's just the president.
Oh, wow. That's wild. Yeah. So I think we absolutely need term limits. But, part of this thing was you go serve your country for a couple of years. And in that time, you should be serving your country, not trying to get extremely wealthy.
Filling your pockets.
And then just stay there forever to get this constant inside track of information. So people rightly are very upset about that. And I think that we need to come up with some kind of law that does prevent this and basically says if you are
term limits,
if you serve your country as a senator, you can still invest, but it needs to be done independently with somebody else who's just managing your funds for you, right? Or you have you can buy broad basket assets or dollar cost average.
Yeah, just put them into like index funds.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing they're allowed to buy. The only thing they can choose is how much they want stocks and how much they want bonds.
What about crypto? I want some Bitcoin and some stuff like that. I mean, I want to say, hey, look, this is my plan.
You can have an index fund of crypto.
Yeah, something like that, but definitely something needs to be done because it's really gotten out of control. Next take. There's the one I like from Andrew Torba. So Andrew Torba, I think, is the guy who runs Gab. And he says, stealing the death. I really thought this was really interesting because I actually feel this way as well now after thinking back on it. I was so furious about all of the fraud and stuff that was happening in 2020. But stealing the 2020 election will be remembered as one of the most catastrophic miscalculations in history. In a different timeline, a second Trump term would have unfolded as a largely unremarkable chapter, marked by modest policy gains and tempered rhetoric, avoiding extreme upheaval. Instead, the fallout from 2020 and what followed has galvanized a movement that is turning the entire system on its head and gutting it. I mean, I'm actually very happy now looking back on everything. It's like, wow, he walked away for a couple of years, really saw how bad it was. Like,
well, they went after him.
They went after him. They went through his
gloves off, going after his kids.
He banked his wife and kids. They've, tried to put him in prison for the rest of his life. They, used USAID funds now, apparently, what we found out, to fund all of these prosecutor offices and news agencies and all this stuff to literally go after a former president, which has been which is literally unheard of. This is America, not, the Soviet Union or China or some other third world, dictatorship, Venezuela, et cetera, right? Like, this is America. We don't do this in America.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's had time to regroup. Look at all the intelligent and insanely qualified people he has on his team. People that have built incredible wealth and provided incredible benefits to society. People like Elon. Look at Scott Bessent. You've got Howard Lutnick. You've got a super David Sachs now leading the AI and Web3 crypto team. As the cryptos are, he's got an intelligent and fantastic group of people around him. Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. I mean, I could just go on and on and on and on. Kash Patel, all these different people who are agents of change, and this is what the people want. This is what people voted for. We want change. We don't want the status quo. We want to clean out this filth and this rot and this disgusting things that's happening. And we're getting it, right? So Ron Paul, even look at this is a great one, and it's a great 25-minute clip. If you have time, I highly recommend watching it. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to watch the clip here, but go up here. It says, "A look behind the curtain has revealed a horrific truth. Nearly the entire mainstream media worldwide has been funded by the U.S. government under the USAID. From the BBC to the New York Times and Politico, at this point, it might be easier to find out who USAID has not funded in the media sphere." This is disgusting. I mean, for a country that advocates, its founding principles on freedom of speech and the freedom of the press, to have the government funding all of these different agencies that are all saying the same thing and parroting the same thing on all these networks. I mean, this is antithetical to America, antithetical to why we have a constitution and why this nation was founded. The government should have nothing to do with the news agencies, and the news agencies should be questioning government. If they're getting all their funding and money, they're essentially, the government is their boss. So how are they going to question and speak truth to power? Well, the truth is they absolutely can't, and that's what we've seen play out. They've literally become a propaganda mouthpiece, like something out of a George Orwell nightmare novel. And that's
talking about how legacy media was dying, and this is just putting more nails in the coffin.
Yeah, I mean, like mainstream media or corporate media has already been losing the faith of the people.
What was the
14%? I think we're down to 14%. We're like sub 30%.
It's gotta be
right. But like after this, how can it have anything left?
It does no life.
Like the only way that CNN's probably been able to stay alive is because it's been getting government money.
Yeah,
because the only people that watch it are like airports. It's just on in the background that people ignore. That's got to be their only viewers.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong about that. Here someone said, USA did just enough benevolent things to hide all the filth, perversion, corruption, influence buying, and color revolutions, which were its main objective. Just like Satan, just enough truth to get people to go along with the lie. Both are rotten to the core. So let's call a spade a spade. Yeah, I mean, let's call a spade here. The USAID, of course, probably has done good things, right? They've probably given, food to different, impoverished area. I mean, there's for sure some good that's come out of it. The problem is that it's first off, the taxpayers should not be on the dime for doing those things, right? That's like not the job of U.S. taxpayers is to pay for charity around the world. I hate to say it. That's not why we pay our taxes. Now, it could be a good thing if you're doing some charity. A lot of us already are.
Yeah, I was going to say, U.S. is already one of the most philanthropic countries in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like if you gave us back the money, there's a good chance that a lot of that would still go out to the charities.
To actually philanthropic causes that we the people choose, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't sign up for this. We don't want this. And at the end of the day, even though it may have done some good things, I mean, we've just showed you some of the absolute filth and nonsense that's coming out of this agency, and that's just again such a small 1.7% of the overall federal spend.
Here's a cynical take on that. What if the good things that they did was only as just PR stunts to get you to pay attention to only that spending?
What it's looking.
I mean,
yeah, it's like,
again,
look at all
when
these
you
good
get
things we did. Don't pay
$84
attention
million
to the man behind the
Yeah, I
curtain.
mean, should Chelsea Clinton be getting $84 million to
$3 million?
Who knows? Maybe she's doing something charitable with some of it, right? But I mean, look what happened with all the Haitian funds. I mean, Haiti's still a complete shithole. I mean, it's terrible what's happening. People are literally eating like pellets made of dirt, like these little cakes that they make with actual dirt.
Roach patties, probably.
No, they're like literally they put like sugar, but they mix it with literal mud, and people and kids eat it. I mean, it's insane, right? I mean, it's horrific. It's honestly horrific. So really, a lot of this aid is going into the pockets of plugged in and well connected insiders. Oh, let's see, mud pie.
Why are you hating on mud pies?
Oh, they're called mud pies.
I need more context on that search.
Yeah, more context. There's a whole documentary on it, and it's really sad. And it's not African; it's Haitian. Africa's different. Africa's on the other side of the world. Haiti's a little country.
Tim Pool had his Culture War episode today, and they were talking about the same thing. And apparently, they had some like African diplomat or some guy come to the offices and say, "Please stop having your government fund the overthrow of our government."
Yeah.
Something like real sad like that. It was
A lot of it is that.
It's not Africa, Paul. You have to put Haiti. Haiti is like a.
Recently took an Uber ride with the lady.
Yeah, there it is. One of the
from
Haiti.
Haiti.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah, you did.
look at it's a whole business. I mean, and it's sad because like they feed these to children, so that like
No food.
yeah,
When you're hungry.
it's very sad. Very sad.
People are creative in
Yeah,
choosing these flavors for making pies,
Yeah.
but in one of the poorest countries in the world, clay is the basis for making pies, as the mud pies are made.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very sad.
And then when you got millions of dollars that are supposed to be going to these people to help, and they're just being pocketed stages.
Yeah.
That's
pay ridiculous salaries to political insiders.
Some people
10 million to a
when you
mansion or a
technically
wedding.
cases in food stuff.
If you want to solve some of these problems, you should have to go into the free market, start a nonprofit or a charity, whatever it may be, and get the people to actually fund your idea, not get massive government slush funds at the taxpayer expense. I mean, it's just not appropriate, and we won't have it anymore, and it's unacceptable. So let's move along here. Oh, this is a good one, Paul. Jason Lowry. He says, to each there comes in their lifetime a special moment when they are figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered the chance to do a very special thing, unique to them and fitted to their talents. So this is, a lot of people don't know Jason Lowry, but he's works for the government, I think worked in the Department of Defense and worked in the military. He wrote a book called Soft War, which is a really interesting game theoretical exploration of Bitcoin for nation states and how to project power all over the world. So many fascinating things. We could spend 6 hours talking about it. But the fact that he posted this is really interesting with the incoming Trump administration and this idea of a strategic Bitcoin reserve and all of the buzz and stuff that's happening. So he's almost implying here that he's looped in on this and he's involved in it. And honestly, there's no better person to be involved in something like this.
Lawrence Sliver.
So again, that's just my own personal take. I could be off.
You see our guy Lawrence and CJK both commented.
Yeah, so I think they're feeling.
And you did too, but I'm in your account right now, so I'm not going to like your own post.
Yeah, I just said, if you know, you know. LFGO. All right, let's go on to the next take here. Oh yeah, this is a really interesting one. So, God, there's so much good stuff on X. So many different rabbit holes you can go down. I mean,
Certainly
so this pretty much our entire show is just like going down rabbit holes here, which the Runway, that's just what it's all about. And if we reband, it'll be 69 minutes. 69 minutes on X.
Well, I guess I'm not sharing this podcast with family anymore.
Let's see here. So
Elon.
go up a little bit. Elon posted this. This is how new taxes start. And this is what a lot of people don't realize, is they claim only to apply to a small percentage of households in order to gain a majority vote, but then rapidly evolve to cover everyone. So when you say, let's add this tax, let's get the billionaires, let's get this, it always always starts that way, right? Anytime you introduce a new tax or a new thing, it always starts with a select small group of people, and then over time it explodes to cover and affect everybody. So here you go, looking at the percentage of households filing an income tax return, and you saw how it started. At first, there was no income taxes, and then they needed to justify paying for a war, so they brought about the income tax, and then it just absolutely exploded and skyrocketed.
Well, something that Ron Paul said in a video I watched ages ago, it's the worst part was once they got the income tax, it might have only been a few percentage points, but they lost 100% of the principle that this shouldn't be done. So once the foot was in the door, it always goes more because you've lost the principle of the matter.
The principle of it. Yeah, exactly. No, I hit the nail on the head.
What's that first comment down there?
World of statistics, personal income tax rate, the Cayman Islands, Bahamas, Bahrain, Bermuda, Brunei, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, 0%. So that's a world of statistics. So it just shows the different countries where the personal income tax rates are.
At least we're not the top of that one. That's something.
Well, we're probably somewhere in the middle. We're 37% now.
Italy's 43.
Well, if that's just income tax, that's not counting like all of the tax.
Yeah, that's
because there's sales tax, inheritance taxes, tangible property tax.
Crazy. State tax, all these different things. I mean, they just get you every which way. I mean, it's unbelievable. Such a grift. Our founding fathers who revolted over like 5% T-tax would literally roll over in their graves to what this great republic has become.
I think it was also that, and it was also like they were trying to get him to pay for the tax in the British pound, the printed paper, not just, sterling silver. I think that also played into it, but I haven't done enough reading on that.
Now, here we go from Safe.
It's great.
He's not wrong.
So go up a little bit. This is a great one. Anything over 250,000 kept in a bank deposit is not your money. Then anything kept in a bank is not your money. So what he's describing is evolution. Anything held in government money is not your money. Government money is not money. So it's kind of a this evolution of thought. But we have this insurance for anything over 250,000 or anything less $250,000 is you have this insurance that you can't lose it, right? To prevent bank runs, the FDIC insurance. Then it's like, if it's really kept in a bank, you're really just loaning the bank the money and they agree to pay you back. It's like this, technically that is true. That is kind of how it's structured, right? It's a liability. And then they just use your money and do whatever the hell they want with it. And maybe they'll give it back to you if you ask, or maybe they'll give you 5,000 questions about what you're going to do with your own money and why are you taking over $5,000, and we got to report this to the government, which is totally unconstitutional, by the way, but for some reason it still happens.
Well, the FDIC, like I think only has a couple.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's outrageous. Like they got to file all these forms and stuff, and it was made in the 70s to apply to any transaction over, I think it was like $10,000. And at the time in the 70s, before they massively inflated our money supply, that was like purchasing a house. So it was like, oh, it's such a high transaction, right? Like it's rarely going to get reported. But now they've just inflated, and now it's like, oh, you want to buy a motorcycle, or you want to buy a car, you want to do anything. As soon as it's going to be like a PlayStation, you want to buy a PlayStation, we're going to have to report your DIRS.
It's like you can buy a golf cart for that money nowadays, and it's going to get reported.
Yeah, it's bullshit, total bullshit, and it's totally unconstitutional. I mean, this is total violation.
Well, no, technically it's not unconstitutional because there's an amendment on it.
What do you mean?
For the income tax?
I'm not even talking about income tax.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the anti-KYC AML, BASML.
Oh, like the anti-money
laundering law, whatever it is. Like any transaction over $10,000 needs to be reported to the government. Like,
I mean, that's a violation of
blatantly unconstitutional. Like Fourth Amendment.
Yeah, the Fourth Amendment.
The blatant violation of the Fourth Amendment, and somehow it got through, and it still stands to this day, which I don't understand. In a jaw-dropping argument. So then you get to the final thing where it's like government money is not money. And then you go in a jaw-dropping argument. The Department of Justice claims seizing $50,000 from a small business doesn't violate property rights because money isn't property. I mean, like, that is the most insane thing I've ever heard. And this is the argument the government's taking right now. And if they win in court with all of these lawyers the Department of Justice has compared to this small business who probably has no resources, it's going to be a really bad day, right?
Well, I'm willing to bet that they were shopping around for a district where they could bring this suit to get a judge that's favorable to them.
That's what they do. I mean, it's so corrupt. Corrupt. It's like why they try to get Trump. We're going to prosecute you in New York City and in Washington, D.C., where they're like 98% of the population votes for the other candidate. I mean, like, so corrupt. The fact that those cases were even allowed to be brought there is just, total corruption.
Yeah, but at least most of the people see it now. So I mean, silver linings.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully people are waking up now that they're not going to have all this money to push all this propaganda on all these news stations. Maybe more people will wake up.
Well, it's nice that, during the election, Democrats got like 3 or 4 times the amount of money and spent 3 or 4 times the money as Trump, and Trump still won because they can't throw money at it and trick us anymore.
Yeah, like money is not going to just solve the problems with it, but that's their mindset, right? With the government, with everything, Department of
It's
Education.
been working.
Let's throw more money. Yeah, historically it has.
It's not working anymore.
But it's not working anymore because we have X, we have free speech. They tried to, they put their moles. I mean, people don't realize how insidious and how bad all this was. I mean, like they literally had moles and like they were using government money to fund psyops and have all these agents on the board at X and Facebook and they, do all this stuff and censor these memes and censor this information. I mean,
browbeating Zuckerberg.
Yeah, I mean, crazy. So yeah, they were able to censor, and then luckily, I think Elon literally changed the course of humanity. I mean, he literally saved us from fucking some George Orwell novel, which was already like largely playing out, and people had no clue. Here we go. Here, it's a good one. I haven't really seen many people talk about this.
Let's watch this clip real quick.
Yeah, watch the clip real quick. Scott Bissett. This is in his.
As we saw from the December 8th hack by the some Chinese entities into the Treasury, which is very serious, that was through a work from home software app. So one of the policies that I support, I intend to be in the building every day that I am in Washington, and I support a return to the office, which is against the current Treasury policy. As we saw from the December 8th hack.
Bissett is so the Chinese hacked the Chinese hacked Janet Yellen's computer, I believe, and they hacked a bunch of other. I mean, our whole government infrastructure is so antiquated and outdated. But since they've decided
it's all boomers that don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, so since they decided that everybody gets to work from home now, they actually used government dollars to make a special work from home app. And of course, it was made by the incompetent government that was in power. And of course, there's probably a bunch of loopholes, spyware, etc. So our adversaries or frenemies or whoever has actively just been hacking in and getting on all of our sensitive documents from the Treasury, from different government officials, and it's just been like a field day. They've been having a field day. So Bissett is rightfully calling this out and saying, "Hey, this entire hack was created because nobody's coming to work, and you guys made some bullshit app so you can work from home and not actually have to come to the office." And it just basically gave the keys of the kingdom away to our adversaries.
So I just can't square this circle. So we've got the CIA with the highest level technology and super secure everything, and then we have the other side of it where they have this app that got easily hacked by the Chinese.
Yeah, I don't think it was the CIA. I think it was
I'm just
the
saying,
taxpayer paid somebody.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, like, we have the CIA as a technological powerhouse, or maybe they have NSA, whatever, and then we have this other department that just fumbles the ball so hard. I just like how does that work? You can't like share technology. What the fuck?
What do you got next for us, Paul? That was a wild one that happened this week too. Go down a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about this. Breaking: President Trump has announced that the U.S. will take control of Gaza Strip. No, it's below that, Paul. Yeah, kind of wild. I mean, what do you guys think about this? I mean, this to me is
serious of a.
I don't know.
Is he saying he's going to do that?
He always says stuff, but who knows?
I mean, this could be a negotiating thing, but at the same time, I've been told, I haven't seen the clip myself, but when Trump is making that announcement, Netanyahu's face apparently is just like, what is he talking about? That's not going to happen. I've
seen that clip.
Maybe he's trolling Netanyahu.
He could be, but at the same time, like, Trump does that and denies everyone what they want. And so, like, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, the place has been leveled essentially to the ground, so I don't know. I don't know what the solution is there. It's been a never-ending disaster for the past like almost 100 years at this point. So,
I mean, how would he go about doing that?
That's a good question. I mean, I think you need support. So what I'm thinking is, no, it's already been carpet bombed to hell.
Yeah, I mean, it's already done.
It's completely fucking
there, right?
No, dude. There's like
done.
I mean, it's like done. It's like most of it is, from what I've seen, like totally destroyed. Like maybe there are small like refugee camps and stuff, but like the whole place is like carpet bombed, dude. Like it's like a nuclear holocaust there, essentially.
I mean, if he can find a way through further negotiations to finally get everyone to stop trying to kill each other there. Yeah, I mean, I'll listen. I'm not saying I'll endorse, but I'll listen.
Yeah, I mean, I think hopefully maybe he can work something out because he had those Abraham Accords. Maybe some of those other countries are willing to step in and provide soldiers and troops. I just don't want to see American troops on the ground anymore in all these places. Like
it could just be the big ask of Trump, and then he's going to walk it back to something that's sensible.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I feel about it. So there's a lot of questions. Implementation is important, right? So if Qatar and some of these other places are going to be the boots on the ground and making sure everything's going, and they're going to be investing and doing stuff, and maybe it's a collaboration with a lot of Middle Eastern countries, and to create a thriving Middle Eastern oasis, then and the U.S. is a part of it in some way that doesn't mean all of our soldiers dying and our people dying on the ground. Then I guess I could get behind it. But aside from that,
how he's gonna.
Yeah, because there's the Palestinian aspect and
maybe a good intention, but
I just don't want to have, like Maddie's saying, I don't want to be involved in all these things. Like, we've got enough fires at home. I don't want to go volunteer for more. Like, maybe 20 years after we've got our house back in order and things are okay, then maybe we'll talk about doing something there. But right now, no.
I've been hearing some interesting takes and reading some stuff, and apparently, from other things I've read, about 500,000 Palestinians have been affected, have been killed. But apparently, the population is still around 2.2 million. Mm-hmm. So that's
well, we got a lot of refugees. So I know part of it was mentioned of Egypt taking refugees and Jordan taking refugees, some of these other countries taking refugees, and maybe if it's rebuilt nicely, they can come back. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I really don't.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a tough
sticky situation.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
But if America does get involved, then in a way that might keep peace in the region. But at the same time, it implicates us and solidifies this whole alliance that is somewhat unspoken, but everybody knows, is essentially Israel is an extension of the United States. And, then that solidifies it, but that could have,
I think Trump
inflame any.
I think Trump would be going at this with, I think if there is something that happens there, I think it's going to be much less the U.S. and Israel and more so the U.S. and Qatar and Jordan and Egypt and some of these other countries that the Abraham Accords and whose, Jared Kushner has been working well with, and they've signed peace agreements with, that are coming around to recognize Israel kind of as a trading partner and stuff like that. So I think it's the other adults in the room, the other nations that are wanting to thrive, right? That want to have tech ecosystems, Dubai, all these places. I think they're going to have to kind of step up and be the sensible people in the room there. So I think that's more so what it is, Paul, than anything else. But again, time will tell.
There was a Saudi prince on with Tucker yesterday who was given a unique perspective on that.
What was he saying?
He was saying, essentially that the Syria, anti-American regime has been overthrown, that now is going to help stabilize to some degree. And Saudi Arabia apparently is fully on board with, supporting that stability.
I think,
so it's an interesting dynamic, and we're only getting, snippets of it at a time.
Yeah. It's very complicated, but the status quo is not good. And, it would be very, very good for the world if there was more peace there. So hopefully they can come to a sensible conclusion. And if we can be a part of a peace, I'm all for it. If more Americans don't have to die, I'm all for it. And if we can actually have some lasting peace, I'm all for it. Let's move along.
I will. Sorry, one last thing I need to drop on here. I am looking forward to seeing the declassified files on, multiple historic moments.
I think we all are.
Being amongst.
I think we all are. I think we all want to know the truth.
If other nation states were involved in that can have consequences that we aren't even factoring in right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the governments that are in power now have nothing to do with the governments that were in power 60, 70 years ago. So even if, other nation states were involved, to me, it means nothing. I mean, like, the people that are long dead, like 60 years ago, those people aren't even alive anymore. So we just want to know about it, because the people in power now, have no... we're living generations later. So just tell us the fucking truth if it happened.
Well, see, the problem with that, though, is if they do that, then it turns out they were doing horribly nefarious things, then now people are going to be suspicious, rightly so, if they're doing bad things.
I think people are already suspicious, Kyle.
Right. No, there's
look at this USAID that's happening. People are already suspicious.
Their suspicions will be confirmed. There's a difference between those two. Like, you can think something's happening, but if you know something's happening, it changes the game.
I think people voted. I think that's part of Trump's appeal that a lot of people don't realize. It's like, people are like, I've always been suspicious about all the shit that's happening. And Trump comes in and is like, yeah, I'm part of this, elite group. This shit is definitely happening. And everyone's like, oh, okay, finally, we knew. Now we can move on, right?
Right.
I think the same thing is like,
Well, and then it's also
there's all these conspiracy theories and all this stuff happening and all this, like, people are so nervous. It's like, hey, just fucking tell us what happens. We're all adults here. Like, if there was somebody involved in the assassination that was part of the intelligence community, many of us will not be surprised, right? These institutions already have like historically low levels of trust by the American people.
So it
just
happened in the past, but it's still being covered up today.
Yeah,
so there's
covering
still,
up.
yeah, I know, but there's still
right.
people in the agencies that are still trying to hide this crap. So it
yeah, I mean,
still
that,
implicates
like,
them.
that's just the way, because they want to keep operating, right? But
No,
look what's
I
happening
understand.
right
like
now.
I'm with you on there,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, trying to get in their shoes.
Yeah.
Why would they still keep trying to hide this stuff? It's because
because they don't want the stain on the agency, right? They want to, but part of,
well, also it's like, oh, they're willing to do this. What else are they willing
of course.
to do?
Well,
What are they doing
Look what's
today?
already been unclassified about MK Ultra and all this crazy shit that the CIA and these intelligence agencies were doing. I mean, this is all completely unclassified. So we already know they were doing it anyway. So let's know everything. There's no reason to hide it anymore. If
Oh, we need to have a new version of the church commissions. I think that's what it was.
I don't remember what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So let's move along, Paul. What do you got for us next?
On that subject, I think it'd be very relevant to pull up a Doge X-take that you included, given that Doge is somewhat bringing in this transparency that we're all.
Yeah, do you have it? Or are you gonna find it?
I'm looking for it right here. I thought it was closer.
We'll get better at this, guys. We're still trying to figure out the flow of how we can get all these X takes to kind of flow together. I'm gonna have to send a message to Elon about this, because right now it's like very we're gonna have to tag him somewhere, tag the Twitter team somehow. But if we want to like live stream and just have X takes, like it's incredibly, right now I've been bookmarking like tabs. So I'll have a tab for the week and I'll just send a bunch of like things that I find interesting. I'll just bookmark. But when he goes to my bookmarking for the week and starts pulling up those things, it's just very hard to get them to pull up on the screen altogether, because it's not an easy flow. So maybe like a live stream tab for X takes would be pretty cool. That was a good one. Go down, Paul. I want to go over that take. It's one of my favorites. Nope, the one right beneath it. Slavery was never abolished. It was expanded. I like this one.
Oh yeah, the payroll tax. It's basically 15%. It says 7.65, but what people don't understand is the employer also pays that portion of it.
Yeah.
The employer wouldn't care about giving you the full amount. So it's actually double that 7%.
James O'Keefe, affidavit released. The Department of Justice has redacted every word of the probable cause used to raid our newsroom. I mean, how do these motherfuckers get away with this shit? I mean, they just like, hey, we have a FOIA request, or, hey, you're in a court and you're getting subpoenaed and you need the information. It's like, they literally redact everything in the thing. I mean, this should literally,
because they think they're still operating in an old paradigm.
They think
we're in a new paradigm.
Yeah, they think they can just get away with whatever the hell they want. Like, hey, this is crazy.
So I was thinking about this tweet earlier with regard to what we were talking about.
Nayib Bukele.
What is underlying all of these essentially anti-constitutional, un-American tactics being used against us?
The founding fathers actively said, do not fucking do this. This is not your job. This was like a huge part of like their whole thing, is like, you are not trying to meddle in every affair that happens all over the world. So our country was not founded to do this. It is not the intention of what we should be doing. It's not the intention of anybody who helped create America, the American dream, the American spirit, the American Constitution. This is the complete opposite of all of those things. And, it's just the ends justify the means mindset. And Nayib Bukele even says here, he goes, U.S. taxpayers should know that their government is using their money to fund communist movements against a democratically elected and with a 90% approval rating government in El Salvador. It's not working, though. The people of El Salvador won't go back to the terrible past, right? So whether you like Bukele for better or for worse, I think he's got great qualities, and I think he's got, some qualities aren't the greatest, right? He's got a little authoritarian streak to him, but, again, that can work, right? When you have a massive out of control murder rate and all the stuff they had over there, whether you agree with some of the underlying principles and things that he did, it's no doubt that he got the results there. I mean, it's now one of the safest places in South America and in Central America, right, in the Southern Hemisphere. So, and he's a good leader. He really is a good leader. I mean, it's hard to dispute that. But this idea of our tax dollars going to fund oppositional regime changes and all this stuff, this meddling coups here, and I think just enough is enough, right? Let the people of those countries make the decision, decide, rise up, etc.
And I mean, it'd be one discussion if like everything in our country was, roses and whatnot, but everything's on fire here, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to export our ideas internationally."
Yeah. It's not working.
What
Taking our tax
To what
dollars to
benefit?
fly in millions of people, illegal aliens. I mean, using our tax money to do this. I mean, just unacceptable. Putting massive strain on all these small towns, cities, and places all over the U.S. on at the taxpayer expense, and overwhelming the local communities. Just totally unacceptable.
I saw a story.
Totally
I think it was
illegal.
in like Scotland or something like that. And a small village had like 100 people, and there was like 200 immigrants or something in the school.
Mhm.
So it was like double the population of that town got
Yeah, crazy.
put there, and
Crazy.
it's like
Crazy.
you're
crazy.
overrunning our country, our town with
Yeah.
people that aren't from here.
Yeah.
Right. So, what violates the Constitution essentially has been outsourced to NGOs. Because
Yeah.
these
I mean, this
agencies-
whole idea of NGOs. I mean, if an organization cannot survive without the government, then it is not an NGO. It is a governmental organization that's being funded by the fucking government. So it is not an NGO if it needs the government to fund its existence. So let me just put that out there in the fucking ether. You can clip that and quote that and throw that shit up on X or wherever the hell you want to do it, guys, on the media team. But like, if you are surviving because the government is giving you money, you are a government organization. You are not an NGO. I hate to say it, but that's literally the case here.
I don't hate to
Yeah,
hear
on
it.
paper.
Preach.
Yeah. So if USAID was running coups and regime change, what was the CIA doing? What's it called when an agency that's not supposed to use our money to do this does called? Just this alone should be national news. Then you have them funding New York Times, AP, BBC, and Politico, funding DEI, trans and woke ideology everywhere, funding heroin farms, terrorists, and most likely a whole lot of money laundering because there's no way a serious person actually put shrimp on treadmills to see how fast they ran or sent cats to spas to see if that decreased hairballs. Any of those things could fill national news, but all of that and more should be keeping them busy for a while. Instead, they are talking about the guy who brought all of that and more to light. Weird.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't even make this shit up anymore. I mean, it's so asinine and ridiculous. And there needs to be some kind of consequences here. There needs to be some justice. I mean, this is outrageous.
You're just echoing what I said.
Yeah.
They have nothing.
This is clearly fraud and abuse,
Yeah.
and we need to have justice.
Oh, that was it. We never got to look at that. My little pharaoh, the little pharaoh meme go down.
No, that was the.
I know.
I was talking about it.
Oh, we didn't get it. I didn't get to read it, but that's okay. All right. So this was an interesting one. Did they actually ever have this conversation? So I know Eric Weinstein wanted to talk to Mike Benz because I think he had some devil's advocate sort of thoughts about USAID, where he said, "Now, does it hurt when I apply pressure here? ? I have always believed 4 things about USAID. A, it does a lot of harm. B, it has done a lot of good. C, both involved corruption. D, it is an extension of CIA, State Department of Defense. This is a can you expand the quote? He goes, this is a load-bearing wall for which I have never had any love, but it is a load-bearing, or was. I hope those trying to destroy USAID understand what good it did amongst all the evil it does. Its strategy was always a hybrid, by design and strategy. Screw the swamp is gaining ground quickly, and this is most definitely at the center of the swamp." So I think he hits the nail on the head here, but he does raise interesting questions, interesting topic to think about. I know him and Mike exchanged some conversation underneath where they said, "We should talk about this. I'm not convinced USAID has done a lot of good, but as I've been saying, there's truly a very difficult and nuanced conversation that still needs to be had here around the role of and structuring of U.S. soft power work through the NGO sphere that I'm not sure many in Trump world foreign policy fully appreciate, as it is presently conducting open heart surgery on the organs of the regime and the role that the USAID plays in that very complex." So interesting conversation. I wonder if they ever got together to have that conversation, but it looks like Eric responded and they kind of said like, "Hey, let's have this conversation." Interesting thoughts to hear.
Eric was on Joe Rogan, a day, or maybe it was his brother Brett.
Yeah.
I think it was on them on his podcast yesterday or 2 days ago or something like that. And he's saying like, "Oh, we got to be careful because yes, this needs to be addressed, but he's worried that people are going to think like, oh, we're cut off a limb of the government and it's going to do great things," which yes, but you could also be doing some damage too.
Yeah.
But like I said, just trust is so lost at this point. That
Yeah.
There's a tumor. What do you do?
Yeah. Unfortunately, you're
right.
gonna,
Well, you cut it out, but you
gotta
also
cut-
have to try and make sure you don't cut out healthy cells too.
well, you actually do that when you're cutting out a tumor. You take margin. So if you're cutting out a tumor
Right.
from the body, you don't just cut out the tumor. You cut out some of the healthy margin around it. So
right, but you want
this
to
is-
minimize that as
you
much
want
as
to
possible.
you do want to minimize it, but unfortunately, you're going to have to cut out some of that.
It's too far gone to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it does
USAID
do
is totally
things.
metastasized at this point. So I'm going with the analogy.
Take us back to some of the final takes. We're like on the final 10 minutes for today because we got to bounce out of here soon. So let's go back to. Let's see. This was zoomed in. These are some zoomed in takes here, but let's see here. This is a sports one that I found was interesting, but we won't have to go down.
Much sports.
Do we want to go down the
Ooh,
sports? rabbit hole?
sports. Oh, that's right. What are you guys doing for Super Bowl this
So
weekend?
what's it about Coinbase?
Go up. Coinbase. Do the Coinbase one. Oh no, hold on. Do the one on reach. Go.
Brian Armstrong.
Yeah, we can do that one first. Go that one.
Think Coinbase. Go ahead, Matt.
If you think no, Phil, you read it. Baby.
If you think
Read it.
of
got this.
Coinbase like a bank, we now hold about 0.42 trillion in assets for our customers, which would make us 21st largest bank in the US by total assets and growing. If you think of us more like a brokerage, we'd be the 8th largest brokerage today by the AUM. If you think of us like a payments company, to be honest, I'm not sure where we rank on that list. There are various ways to measure it, but there were about 30 trillion in total stablecoin payments last year. Not all of those were goods and services, though. The point is, with crypto, the line between these categories is blurring. There are many legacy reasons these are separate in the traditional financial system, and not all of them are good reasons. Why does the money you spend lose value instead of growing in value like an investment? Why does your checking account not earn yield like a savings account, or better yet, like short-term treasuries? Many people use Coinbase to invest, but also to spend, get a loan, etc. In the updated financial system, you will have a single primary financial account which serves all these functions. A greater percent of global GDP will run on more efficient crypto rails over time. We'll have sound money, lower friction transactions, and greater economic freedom for all.
So you're actually kind of probably someone who has an interesting take on this because you're using Coinbase right now as a bank account, aren't you?
Literally just got my Coinbase.
Lord, and you're spending from it, and I pay you there, and it's interesting. A fiat hawk. That's a funny quote. I just think of Coinbase as a casino, not a bank, not a brokerage.
Yeah, that's true.
So it can be that as well, right? It can be a casino as well. So what I take away from this post is that
Depends on how you want to use it, I guess.
yeah, the times are changing and financial systems are evolving, right? And we're at the forefront of that change. And as the bankless guys say, we're in the Wild West, and this is the Wild West, but we're headed west, right? Kind of their little closing statement there. But the way people think about money, the way people use money, the way people get loans and invest is changing. And there's more options, and Coinbase is not perfect by far, but it's nice. It's nice to have a U.S. company that has been fighting back a bit against the beast, right? And Coinbase has been doing that. They've actively been pushing the FDIC to get these letters about Choke Point 2.0, and they've been a force for good when we've heard so much about forces for bad, like FTX, and you always hear about the bad stories. But Coinbase is a American success story, an American tech company. They persevered through the past 4 years against a terrible administration who was hell bent on destroying the industry. So kudos to Coinbase. To all the and any of the haters out there. I have my own problems with Coinbase many times, right? Like, I wish
it's not perfect.
it's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect. I
Nothing's
the
perfect,
the, or,
you know what
the
I mean?
Orwellian KYC AML regime. I mean, even at the higher levels, they really try to enforce that, and it's really annoying.
Right, but
So-
again, it's not necessarily Coinbase.
It's the government, yeah. It's the government they're trying to comply with the regulations, but they've been pushing back here. The one thing that I would ask, and that I've been thinking about, and this gives me the perfect time to pitch this, is I personally I don't have a problem with all of the meme coins or whatever. It's like a zero sum gambling game. I think that should get to exist. I have no problem with it, and they always they of course they're a for-profit business. They want to list that, but it is probably not the greatest thing for everybody. In the sense that
give them
most
such
people
easy
lose money. It's just like gambling, like a casino game, which is fine. But I would ask Coinbase, list some of these good community-based projects like Raven, Ergo, Dynex, a new one just launched called Quai. Some of these GPU-based proof of work projects where you've got a lot of small guys participating in that are, striving to build new things. I know I'm missing another one like Flux, who's building a decentralized cloud, which, we host our website on that through Flux, run on Flux, right? So there's so many great communities innovating in this space that are, building interesting decentralized products, right? That, have interesting ideas, right? That are actually providing interesting value. And they've been working for years and working on these projects, and they have active developments, right? And somebody just comes and makes a meme coin with a picture of a capybara, and Coinbase lists it, and it's $40 billion market cap overnight. I mean, that's like come on, guys, you can be a little bit better on that, right?
I'm hoping that one of them is going to try and replace our current phone systems, whatnot, because that's a very antiquated technology. Like if anyone in the US ever tries to change your carrier, sometimes you can lose your phone number because.
So Helium's working on this. There are different blockchains that are working on this. So
I know T-Mobile partnered with Helium to try and help expand the network. So I know there are projects out there. I'm looking forward to them really.
No doubt. So there are interesting projects out there in the Web3 space that are innovating. Yes, there are a lot of scams. Yes, there are a lot of Ponzi schemes. Yes, there are a lot of, meme coins that are just zero-sum gambling. All of that stuff is out there, right? And
that applies to even the fiat system we have already made off.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, right? But there are tremendous innovations as well, right? And there are interesting projects that are good projects that might still fail, right? But, how are we going to know if we don't try? And if we can't innovate and experiment and have a free market and explore these different ideas, are we even America? In the past 4 years, it's actively.
Well, there's also the entrenched
hindrance of that.
There's the entrenched players that are going to probably try and squash some of it. Like, maybe I'm not saying they are, but maybe Verizon or AT&T is going to try and prevent any upgrades to the system because they don't want to have to work to try and get more, keep their money.
Oh, Paul, go up. Let's go on to that one. I want to see that quote, the Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff. Play that clip. That's a fantastic clip. Just kind of encapsulates everything.
Unelected bureaucrats with less accountability, less oversight than USAID. They funnel money to their cronies all over the world through a swampy network of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and cutouts, including potentially some very troubling elements of focusing on things like regime change and destabilizing foreign countries. But this is not about America's interests. Donald Trump is courageously restoring democracy. Article 2 of the executive branch vests all power by the Constitution. Article 2 of the Constitution vests all power of the executive branch in a president. It's known as the vesting clause. It says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular, not in the bureaucracy, not in unelected, lifetime tenured career civil servants. Americans voted for one man, Donald J. Trump. They didn't vote for a single bureaucrat at USAID. They voted for Donald Trump to make government accountable to the taxpayer, to make government accountable for them. If the Democrats are saying, as they are, that President Trump cannot implement his agenda at USAID, that Donald Trump cannot fire recalcitrant bureaucrats, what they are saying, what Democrats are saying, is they oppose democracy itself. They oppose the idea that the American people can elect a man, in this case, our President Donald Trump, to reform the government according to the will of the people. This is a battle between the will of the people through their President Donald Trump and the will of an unelected federal bureaucracy. So we and President Trump are on the side of democracy.
What a banger. That's a fantastic clip there of Stephen Miller. I think he just hits the nail on the head.
I mean, he's saying like, oh, then obviously the Democrats are against democracy. Yeah, of course, because they only were for it because it was getting them what they wanted. They only care about power. They don't care about anything else.
That didn't make sense when all you hear is like, we didn't elect Trump or we didn't elect Big
But no, we did elect Trump.
Or we didn't elect Elon Musk and we didn't elect
Big Balls. I'm pretty sure Elon was campaigning with him on stage and actively went to many
it's like none of this was a surprise. And
why
this is his staff. We don't elect every single bureaucrat in the country.
It would be impossible.
Yeah,
we elect him because we trust him to do his agenda through the executive branch with using the powers he has as the head of the executive branch. I mean, this is exactly what we wanted. These are exactly the people that we knew were involved and were elected with him that helped him.
At the people at the top of the Democrat ticket, I'm sure they know this, but they don't care because they're trying to manipulate emotions.
To get it's not working. I think I saw the other day it was like their favorability ratings at the lowest of all time, like 31%.
Oh yeah,
and you can just imagine why. All right, Paul, we got time for maybe one or two more takes. let's see here. What can you go up? Go up to like today's stuff, which will be at the top of the. It'll be at the very top. Yeah. Let's see if we can grab one from today. Go down a little bit. Oh, we'll end on this one. This is my favorite right there. How the tables have turned. So Mike Benz posted. He goes, the censors are now the ones getting demonetized. Oh, the irony. So all these censors who were getting paid by the government to do these NGOs to censor the American people in violation of the First Amendment, we're basically demonetizing all these accounts and censoring them off all these social media platforms. And now they're complaining on X that the censorship squad is crashing out over losing the USAID taxpayer gravy train that funds their censorship work. I mean, it's just classic. And Elon goes, oh, how the tables have turned.
So wait, hold on. Like all the fact checkers on Facebook,
fact checkers,
they were all being funded.
They're all being, all these NGOs. So Facebook fact checkers, it's not Facebook that's actually doing the fact check. They outsource it to an NGO that the government pays to. So that's exactly it. You didn't even know that. People don't even know that. It's fucking crazy, right? I
should have seen it coming, but
it is unfathomable. Yeah, you think there's an actual job that people pay for to fucking fact check people? Who's gonna pay somebody to sit there and fucking
Facebook has to.
The sky's blue. A fact check false. The sky's actually slightly light blue.
Azure.
It's azure. So this is a false statement. It's like this is what these motherfuckers are doing. I mean, it's unbelievable. So I think that's a great note to wrap on. How the tables have turned, and oh my, yes they have.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, guys. Have a great weekend.